Hello, hello. Welcome to the 5th episode of the Veggies Abroad vegan travel podcast with the chief veggie pusher, myself, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. Some of you may already be familiar with Veggies Abroad, but for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, we are a full-service vegan travel company that offers custom planning services, small group trips, and even a helpful blog chock full of just about everything a vegan or veg-curious traveler could possibly need to plan an adventure. And I've recently added this podcast to the mix. With this podcast, I hope to bring you guys the inside scoop of what vegan-friendly, and eco-friendly businesses are doing in the wide world of travel. Plus, I'll give you the full download about what's going on behind the scenes at Veggies Abroad. So, since we last chatted, I have been in full-on promo mode for Veganuary, this podcast, and 2024 tours. Truth be told, the Veganuary promo hasn't been going as well as I'd hoped. I felt like I had a really good local media angle here, but the media here in Detroit haven't been super responsive. I did hear from a reporter and an editor, but nothing is firm. I'm not giving up hope just yet. I know that even if it doesn't get picked up in this round, I am planting seeds, which actually plays in really nicely to today's topic. In addition to Veganuary, I am also hustling our 2024 tours, which did get a little media coverage thanks to Veg Out, and have even started working on 2025 options. I almost can't believe that, but I learned the semi-hard way last year that the earlier you start, the better. Nothing ever seems to be accomplished at the speed that you think or hope it will. So starting early, even a year in advance or more, is the best course of action, at least with this, at least for me. So hopefully it will pan out well. So if there's a destination that you'd love to see for next year, now is the time to slip into my inbox with a recommendation. I do read all of them and I take them into consideration. In fact, one of the destinations that I'm working on right now is because it was on the wish list of a few Thailand trip takers. With that said, don't miss your opportunity. Now is the time. All right, so what else is happening around here? Well, for the first time in a long time, like honestly since, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, I've been home for more than a month, which has honestly been really great. And I bet you didn't expect me to say that, did you? But to be honest, traveling and trying to get a significant amount of work done is incredibly challenging. I know the Instagrammers and some of the other publications out there like to really make it seem like some kind of a lush life. But I'm here to tell you it's absolute hot garbage. I'd really love to challenge them all on what kind of work they're actually getting done on a sandy beach with the sun blazing. Probably nothing really considerable. It's really nice to have a consistent time zone, internet connection, and workspace. It's the only reason I was able to get this podcast off the ground. There is no other way that this would have happened. But actually, in addition to me having the solid amount of time to be home to get this done, I also want to give a special thanks out to the Bloody Vegans productions team who is helping making this possible as well too, because without them, I also wouldn't have gotten this off the ground. Their knowledge about podcasting and editing and everything under the podcast sun has been invaluable to me to be able to make this a reality. So special thanks to them. And if you're interested in finding other podcasts to listen to, I definitely highly recommend them. Or if you're thinking about getting your own podcast off the ground, also highly recommend. Okay, in addition to being home, I am working on what this spring travel season will pan out to be. But I'm in a bit of a holding pattern because I'm trying to figure out some conference travel and some other projects, which is kind of annoying, but to be honest, I'm not mad about it. I will get it all figured out eventually. I'll say that's kind of a nice thing about working for yourself is that you do have flexibility with time. So if something pops into my desk tomorrow, I can really consider it if I want to do it or if I don't want to do it. That is definitely a huge benefit. But the unknown is also kind of frustrating as well. It's kind of a weird limbo place to be. But until I get it all figured out, I will enjoy plugging away at my desk with my cats for as long as I can. Okay, So moving on, let's get into today's episode, which I teased in the beginning with planting seeds. I know it sounds a little cheesy, but it's true. It's true. But if you read the title, you already know that we're talking about how you can use your travels as a form of activism. I'm guessing most of you haven't thought about how advocating for what you care about can seep into your vacation planning. For the most part, I think these two things are viewed totally separately. Prior to starting Veggies Abroad, I never really thought about how those two things would or could intersect. But I'm here to tell you that they absolutely can, and they do intersect. Our travels extend beyond the exploration of new landscapes. They become an opportunity for expressing our values and advocating for what truly matters to each and every one of us in both big and small ways. Activism, in its essence, are acts that aim to change the current state of society, which could be through demonstrations, boycotting, donations, etc., etc. So I'm not saying that you need to make a cardboard sign and carry it around on the beach. I mean, you can if you want, and I would really like to see photos of it. But there are plenty of other small ways that you can be an activist before, during, and after your vacation, no matter how near or far you are traveling. So let's jump into this and how you can do it. I have 4 main points just in case you're keeping track. First things first, always remember that your dollar is a vote. Every dollar that you spend sends a message about what you as a consumer think is important and want to see more of. This can help influence ethical practices, sustainability, and responsible business conduct. There are quite a few businesses out there that already prioritize these things, and they need your support and cheerleading, by the way. But unfortunately, there are plenty of others who aren't going to make a significant change unless they know that that's what consumers want and are willing to pay for. On the surface, I think this is a simple idea. Spend money with companies that align with what you care about. Easy. I am sure you can all think of examples in your daily life, but I bet when you start to think about your travel, it gets a little murky. How do you find these businesses that give a damn? The first step is always to try and prioritize spending money with local businesses and or businesses that are prioritizing using local resources and talent. Last fall, a report by the World Tourism Organization estimated that just $5 of every 100 spent by tourists from developed countries stays in a developing country's economy. Most of that money goes to multinational companies headquartered a long way from their intended destination. While they may care about the community, their care isn't going to be to the same level as someone who lives there. A locally owned business or business that prioritizes hiring locally is generally more mindful of its impact on the people, the environment, and the community. Oftentimes, you will also benefit from a much more authentic experience, like, for instance, with a local guide. When you have the opportunity to hear from someone who lives in a destination, it is always a richer experience than from someone who zoomed in from New Jersey just for this. So, this isn't to say that all giant companies are absolutely terrible, avoid them at all costs. I think over the past decade, there has been increased pressure on companies to be more cognizant of their overall impact, and many of them are responding and making changes, which is fabulous. But how do we find them? Well, sorry to say, but it does take a little bit of effort, but it's absolutely worth it. First, you need to scour their website. Do they have a sustainability section? Do they talk about how they support their local community? Do they have vegan options on their dining menus? When you start looking for these things, it becomes easier to spot who's really trying to improve and who's just partaking in some good old-fashioned form of greenwashing. Hey there, fantastic listeners. Let's hit pause on this episode for a thrilling announcement, a golden ticket to Globetrot with Veggies Abroad. Veggies Abroad isn't just your go-to for vegan guides and trip planning tips. It's your passport to extraordinary small group journeys, carefully crafted by the ultimate veggie pusher and your favorite podcast host, me, Rebecca Gade Sawicki. I've spent countless hours researching the best vegan hotels, food, and experiences, and now I'm bringing those experiences directly to you. Join me and my newfound veggie pals on escapades to exciting and exotic destinations around the world. Whether it's trekking through the Thai jungle to witness elephants in their natural habitat or staying at a carbon-neutral camp in Kenya during the Great Migration, our adventures are nothing short of spectacular. And guess what? Those aren't the only exciting trips awaiting you. So what are you waiting for? Cruise on over to veggiesabroad.com pronto. Well, how about after this episode is over to explore our dazzling lineup of 2024 trips and secure your spot on your next vegan adventure today. There's one more thing to think about with your dollars. When you're traveling with a group of vegans and non-vegans, offer to pay for someone's coffee if they try oat milk, or if they're interested in another plant-based treat. If they like it, maybe they will go home and they'll swap out the animal-based product for it. This is one of those things that could be helpful with someone who's resistant to trying new things. In this situation, they've got nothing to lose, but the animals and the environment have everything to gain from it. But sometimes you will end up in situations where none of the above is possible. Is it a lost cause? Oh, heck no. There's never a lost cause. This leads us to our second way to use your travels as a form of activism, by using your voice in a way that you feel comfortable. First, I want to emphasize the how you feel comfortable part, because for some of you, the thought of approaching someone might feel way far out of your comfort zone. But I want you to keep in mind that there are varying degrees of using your voice. It doesn't always mean that you have to approach someone directly in person, but it also can. So for starters, we will begin with the most direct option, and that would mean approaching someone face to face. For instance, going up to the front desk staff and asking things like if they've considered adding vegan options on the menu, getting rid of the mini plastic toiletries that are in the bathroom, or ditching all of the single-use plastics that are on the property. Now, keep in mind, the front desk person isn't the gatekeeper for all of this, but they can introduce you to the general manager or someone else who's closer to the decision makers on these types of topics. Some of you might be shaking your head right now, and that's okay. There are other options too, but that is just the most direct. If you want to take it down a notch, never doubt the power of a review. Leave reviews when you're happy with the choices that a place has made. And of course, when you're disappointed, on platforms like TripAdvisor, Google, and of course, their own site. In addition to reviews, you can also send emails to the hotel encouraging them to adopt more sustainable practices, like adding more plant-based options to their dining menus. Or if they did something that you think is stellar, don't forget to tell them that. One thing I like to do is find something that I really liked about the experience or stay of a business, and then lead with that. So start with the good thing and then move into what I think that they could improve upon. I think this makes the entire conversation a little bit more approachable for the person receiving the feedback. They don't think that you're just coming at them, guns blazing with all of the things that suck. You actually did take the time to give them some positivity. And I think positivity can really, really help and really keep a conversation moving forward. Also keep in mind, your review also helps other travelers and maybe even encourages them to use their voice too. Keep in mind that you might not get the response you want right away. Remember, you're planting a seed. You're making this person or persons think differently about something, and you never know what they may do with that in the future, which leads nicely into our third way to use your travels as a form of activism. Every conversation that you have is an opportunity to make an impact. You never know what someone will do with the information that you've given them. You might have made them think differently about something or opened their eyes in a way that they never considered before. I don't think people are inherently awful. I think most people have a severe level of cognitive dissonance and also don't take the time to connect the dots. None of us operate in a vacuum. All of our actions have consequences. And when people start to think about that, the wheels start turning. Now, just like my beach example from the beginning, you don't have to carry around a cardboard sign. Think about all the people that you talk to when you travel. The hotel staff, the servers, tour guides, travel planners, etc., etc. I'm guessing it is probably a pretty lengthy list. All of these conversations are opportunities to once again plant seeds, just asking if there is a vegan option and explaining what the heck vegan means. This could provoke someone to ask you more questions or say, you know what? We don't have anything, and we absolutely should. Also, don't think of these conversations as full-on, in-your-face, here's what's wrong with the animal agriculture world type chats. This is much more of a passive strategy. Consider like you're talking to a friend. Your goal here is to plant seeds once again and get those wheels turning, not to take someone down. I've also found that when you end up spending quite a bit of time with someone, like a tour guide, for example, and they get to know you, they get more comfortable about asking questions like, why'd you go vegan? Why did you choose this specific company? What makes something vegan? Why isn't camel riding a vegan-friendly activity? So always be mindful and open to conversations. But I know this can be challenging. It is for me too at times. I always have to remind myself to be patient with people and take a step back when I'm in a situation that's particularly frustrating. And I don't think that the person is really listening. It's really easy when you're in the middle of something that's aggravating to think there couldn't be any benefit to it, but I promise there absolutely can be. Last year, I attended a mega travel conference, around 5,000 people that represented everything from ultra bougie Italian villas to guided adventure treks across the Antarctic tundra. This was my first time attending it, and some of my colleagues warned me that it was considered travel's fashion week. Honestly, I think the warning was probably to ensure that I left my vegan Birkenstocks at home. Well, I didn't. But there were multiple points during this week that I thought, why am I inserting myself into this situation that could be awkward? What if it's all a big waste of time? What if? As you can imagine, some people had zero interest in chatting with me, but others were honestly open to it and either wanted to share their veggie options or eco initiatives, or they wanted to learn more. But I'll never forget one specific conversation. A hotelier from the other side of the world had some really interesting projects to share with me, but he was also really interested in understanding why I could and why I did make such a career change. Our conversation was short, but he followed up with an email and said this was the most interesting conversation that he had had all week. I was surprised, to say the least. But also I thought maybe it was just lip service. He does want my business after all. Months later, we ended up meeting again, and he looked a little brighter and lighter. He said that he wanted to thank me because after our conversation, he went home and met with his doctor, who said if you don't make real changes, you're going to die. Now, I wish I could say he went fully vegan. He didn't, but he is making positive changes. So it goes to show that you can never underestimate the power of a conversation. It can really make an impact. Lastly, when you find a business or businesses that are doing awesome work, do not keep it to yourself. Please do not keep it to yourself. Tell everyone who will listen. Personal recommendations are absolute solid gold for businesses. Think about them when you make a purchasing decision. It is always more impactful if your friend tells you something is good versus some random stranger. Consider going on social media and telling all of your followers about it. Make sure you tag the business as well so that they know that it matters. Social media can be a real pain in the neck, but it can also make a difference and create a positive ripple effect for fledgling businesses that don't have a major marketing budget. If you want to make sure that a business keeps doing what they're doing, then don't be silent about it. You've got to be a cheerleader for them. Okay, so this was a lot of me just talking to you. Let's recap those 4 ways that you can blend your activism into your travels. First, remember that your dollars are a vote. Spend them with companies that give a damn or offer to buy a non-veggie person a plant-based option so that they try it. Second, use your voice by approaching staff, leaving reviews and or sending emails about the changes that you'd like to see or the things that you think that they did that are bomb.com. Third, don't underestimate the power of a conversation. No matter how long or short it is, you just might be influencing someone to think differently about something. Fourth, when you find a business or businesses that are doing awesome work, do not keep it to yourself. Shout about it from the rooftops. Share it on social media. Tell all your friends to support them too. Get out there in any way, shape, or form that you can to keep them going. I really hope that today's episode has given you a new outlook on how to approach your travels. Activism comes in all forms. You can wear it on your sleeve, use your voice, use your dollars, leave reviews, or all of the above. It all matters. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving a review. If you'd also like to learn more about upcoming Veggies Abroad tours or get additional travel help, visit veggiesabroad.com and also join our newsletter. It's the best way to stay up to date with loads of new content, like where to find gorgeous vegan hotels, what to eat in cities around the world, trip planning tips, and so much more. Well, that's all I've got for now. Until next time.